from so I can welcome you. Again, I'm Kathy from Wadsworth, Illinois. Be Strong Families webinar series, Staying Strong and Positive for Ourselves and Our Children. Hi, Tammy. Happy Monday. It's good to see you. Hi, Anna. Anna's in Wichita. Heather, welcome, Heather from Las Cruces. Hi, Kimberly from Oklahoma, and Brenda from Highland, Illinois. Asante, New Jersey. Hi, Annette. Make sure you're directing your chat comments to all panelists and attendees. Some of you are still in just the panelists, and that makes it harder for everybody to see you, like as we go forward. So Paul put in the chat, please choose all panelists and attendees in the drop-down menu. It's usually the second option, at least on mine it is. The first one is panelists, and then it says panelists and attendees, and then it has people's names. Thank you. Great, Annette. Yes, hello, Z Frank from Southern Maryland. Welcome. Welcome. We're going to get started in about, 30 seconds. Another week of vitality, of holistic vitality. Paul told me it's supposed to be 75 today and 81 tomorrow. It's been really cold here. I'm just saying. For the spring, it's been really cold. I don't know how you all are doing. Sunny though. Hi, Laura from Mokina, Illinois. Did I pronounce that right? Mokina. Looks like Mokina. Very happy you've joined us. It's 12 o'clock, so we're going to get started. And this is the beginning of Financial Vitality Week. So on Mondays of the week, I kind of ground us in what does this domain mean to you? How does it relate to your life? So hopefully it'll be percolating around in your mind and in your awareness for the whole week. And maybe you'll drop into other webinars as well to explore different aspects. But today we're going to talk about financial vitality and what does that feel like? Again, I'm Katthe Wolf. Next slide, Paul. Housekeeping, ways to engage. The primary way to engage is the chat. So that's why it's so important that you direct your comments to panelists and attendees, because that's where most of the action is. That's where most of the conversation happens. So however, today I will also be asking people to talk, and that if you want to talk, you raise your hand, not in person, on the raise hand thing at the bottom of the Zoom. And then you unmute yourself, and Paul then will unmute you. Both things have to happen, and then you'll be able to talk. So let's go to the next slide, because we already have people agreeing. And those of you who are regulars know that whenever Be Strong Families does anything, in recognition that we co-create this safe space together and that you're all really important for making it happen, we have agreements. And we ask that you follow these agreements or agree to these agreements. And I'm glad I'm seeing people agreeing. So that's awesome. So let's move to the next slide. And again, this is like almost completely interactive, this webinar. There's virtually nothing I'm going to teach you about financial vitality. Maybe give you some concepts that might assist with relaxing around it. Because I know that finances, at least for me, finances can be stressful, right? Financial vitality is about feeling secure in your capacity to meet your needs in the material world. That's like a general definition of financial vitality. Being okay in terms of the money and the resources you have. So when we do cafes, vitality cafes, the questions in this domain focus on building financial security by understanding and reducing stress in your life and relationships associated with money through planning. Hi, okay. Next slide. So that was a somewhat of a definition, but we really want to know for you, what does financial vitality mean to you? And you might need to take a minute to think about that, or to let it to see what comes to you. What does financial vitality mean to you? And this might help if you think back over your life, and especially the times you felt financially well and good, and when you felt financially weak, like when you felt stress as a result of your finances. And the question here, so related to what does financial vitality mean to you, is what makes you feel very strong financially? What makes you feel strong financially? What makes you feel alive financially? And I guess while I'm waiting for you all to weigh in, I'll start, because when I think about back over my life and the times when I felt financially well and financially weak, when I feel well financially, it's kind of like when I feel well physically. I don't have to think a lot about it, that it's there and I'm okay with it. And when I feel weak is when I wake up in the middle of the night with anxiety about how am I going to make this happen, or, like bills that can't be paid. We got this, we have people weighing in. Great. So Brenda says feeling secure financially and not living paycheck to paycheck. That was huge for me, Brenda. That was huge for me. Like the paycheck to paycheck thing, and especially when Be Strong Families has had, we were a startup. So we've had a lot of different situations where cash flow was difficult. And so I would have to wait to get paid because I'm, the CEO. And I was living paycheck to paycheck. That was very, very stressful because it was all about like, am I going to be late on my rent? Am I going to be late on my mortgage? And I didn't have a mortgage, but am I going to be late on my rent? And when I was able to put away, like, just know that was like a huge source of stress, and be able to really plan and save so that I had at least my bills that were due at the beginning of the month, I had them taken care of, I could relax a little bit more. So Heather says having money in my savings account. That's awesome. That's awesome. And Paul says knowing I'm prepared in case I'm not financially solvent. Yeah, I think that those things are related, like the prepared in case I'm not financially solvent. Sometimes for some people that could be about having money in your savings account. For other people, it could be having money in your retirement account, like for absolutely necessary. You can have access to it or for some people that might be having enough good credit to be able to float for a little while. Denise says being able to meet all the needs and budget in fun family activities. Thank you, Denise, for saying that, because it's not always only about the needs, right? Like you feel financially well when you can buy a gift for somebody if you need to buy a gift, when you can go get your nails done if you need to get your nails done, when you can take the family out for mini golf or whatever, and it's not, and you can afford to do it. Like yesterday, I went with some friends to the Tulip Festival. There's a Tulip Festival near here. And, it costs money to get in. And thank goodness, we had it. We didn't feel like it was going to stretch the bank. It's not like if you go there, you think it's free. The Tulip Festival sounds like a free thing. And then you go there and it's like $12 or $15. It's embarrassing to have to say, oh, you know what, maybe not, or I'm sure people have had this experience in your life where you say no to going out to dinner with friends because you can't afford it. You can't, it's not in your budget to go out, it's not, and then they say, why not? And then, like that whole uncomfortable thing of having people, pay for you. Everybody have that experience? So Patrice says having a healthy savings account. Laura says that all my bills are paid for that month. Annette says having money left over when you've paid all your bills. Jennifer says consistency and no debt, having an emergency fund. Wow. Jennifer, we have to talk about debt. I mean, the no debt thing, that's a huge, a lot of people, debt is a big deal. And like they have to have no, my mother's like that. She doesn't want to owe anybody money for anything. So the first thing she's going to do is get rid of her debt. With me, I'm like, there's good debt and there's bad debt. And if I could buy a car at 0% down with 0% financing for 6 years, I'm going to do that because I don't think it's bad to have debt, but people have different relationships to debt, right? And that again, we have a lot of people with the emergency funds available. And Dana says, I have the money to do what I would like to with it. Money for bills, savings, retirement, and travel. Tammy says, having enough to cover living expenses without juggling would make me feel secure. I haven't felt that since before my divorce. I've been paycheck to paycheck for the past 20 years as a single mom and grandma. Wow, Tammy. So I wonder how we get to financial vitality, like how we get to what has to happen in order to be able to shift things around. Because I know I've also encountered a lot of people who are really absolutely adamant that the situation is the situation and there's nothing that can be done about it. And I am always of the opinion that the situation can always be improved and can always, that where there's a will, there's a way. If it's important, we're going to make it happen. And then how? Zamaria says, uh-oh, why is my email, this is not supposed to be making sound. Zamaria says, I think for college students and graduates, financial vitality is being able to pay back student loans without living paycheck to paycheck. Dana says, it's when I feel I control my money and not the other way around. Ooh, I love that, Dana. Like the feeling of it, like the feeling of, and this is like when I went to life coaching school, the first level of energy is like, and this is true of the chakra system too. It's like basic safety, security, groundedness, connection to the earth. And if you're in a negative space with regard to that, then you feel like a victim. Basically, you feel like you're living at the will of your life. You are, instead of you being in control of things. And I think that with relation to money is very, very true and very deep. Anna says, I'm getting ready to retire, so I need money to fall back on. And Paul says, from Kimberly, save money, a bank account, me and my husband, Brandon, save a fund for the kids. And making sure you apply for your work retirement or whatever they offer. This is the way I've been able to retire. Tammy says, I sometimes feel that I should be working in a higher paying field. However, the fulfillment I get from working with families counts for a lot for me. I used to work an extra job. Yeah. So there's no easy answers to this, but I think the point of any of this journey to vitality is that we're on a journey. And if there's an area of your life that you're feeling is causing you stress or is making it doesn't feel healthy, doesn't feel well, doesn't make you feel joyful and liberated, then that's an area that you can attend to. And it's a dance between you and the universe in terms of how things move, but that none of the areas, none of the domains of vitality is stuck where it is now. Like none of them are, and that includes financial, that financial is not stuck, that you can do things that will open up financial vitality. Let's go to the next slide, Paul. So I wanted to ask this question is, what is your experience with an abundance versus poverty mindset? Have people heard about that? When I say abundance versus poverty mindset, does that resonate with anybody? Jennifer, yes, I've had to explore my upbringing and attitudes about money that I've been conditioned to. Brenda says no. Tammy says, yes, I have. Okay, so in a nutshell, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, Tammy, anybody who's heard about this, to me, it's kind of like glass half full, glass half empty. It's that, and what happens is, if you have a glass half full or mindset, then and there's half, there is like, there's water, there's 8 ounces in the glass and there's 4 ounces in the glass. Is that glass full or half full, or is it half empty? And to me, a poverty mindset is when you are worried about everything, and you're closing down, and you're skimping, and you're living in a fear-based situation. It's not about your external situation, it's about your mindset. Like, how are you thinking about money? And abundance is like, is a faith thing. It's like somebody else explained this better than I'm explaining it. Somebody raised their hand, Deanne or Jennifer. And self-fulfilling prophecy. Yes, that's one aspect of it. Like, if you have an abundance mentality, I have an abundance mentality with relation to my house right now, whereas I just like have the faith that things are going to get done and I'm going to be able to afford it. And when I first started, when I bought this house, there was no, like, if you logically just added everything up, there was no way you would come to the conclusion that I would have the ability to do all the things that I'm doing. But I just knew that it would happen. And the resources are flowing. And I found in my life, we're going to go to the flow issue, but I found in my life that when I have that connection, it's like affirmations. It's like, I really know that everything's going to be okay, that all my needs are going to be met, that I am going to be fine. Things just flow much better than when I'm worried that they're not, or I put a ceiling on what could happen based on, reality, or a logical reality of analyzing the situation. Tammy says, oh, here we go. Paul says, if you think of money, money will come. Tammy says, I read a book about it. I think it was Bridges Out of Poverty. It was enlightening. I have to say that even though things are tight, I'm not fearful. As long as I'm working, I may have to juggle. I think of myself as broke, not poor. Yeah, and if you thought of yourself, I think that's I guess that's the question I have, Tammy, is what other ways could you think of yourself that would be more of an abundance mindset? I see Dana wants to talk. So I'm going to finish. Deanne says, when people are always fearful that they will not have enough money, that's a poverty mindset. Yes, that's an example of a poverty mindset. But the point is that your mind has a real connection to your circumstances. Dana?
Hi there. I was just thinking that when we're talking about poverty mindset, it's definitely fear motivated, where abundance is definitely more the idea of possibilities. And I think that a lot of us, I'm just at my 50-year mark, growing up with Lutheran Norwegian parents, and everything was all about saving money and not spending money on frivolous things, and kind of the switch of that in our culture today, where it's give me everything I want right now. I think we definitely butt up against that in depending on our age group. But I think the biggest thing in the poverty mindset is that we feel like we're stuck and we're afraid, and it's kind of all of the negative connotations of dealing with our finances, whereas abundance, and it's kind of the same effect as when we're dealing with feelings. I talk to this with my kids all the time. Just because I love you doesn't mean there's not enough love for your sister. And if I love her, that doesn't mean there's not enough love for you. And so it's that abundance mindset in that there is plenty for everyone. And the reality of whether it will come to you in your time or not, or when you need it, it will arrive. It's one of those things that if you can just accept that there is enough for everyone, and it is not if I take it from you, then you don't have as much. It is that everybody can experience the possibility of abundance.
Nice, thank you. So life isn't a zero-sum game, and there's not a finite pie that has to be split up and you get a small piece and someone else has a large piece. There's enough for everybody. That's the abundance mindset, right? And it seems like the growth, it's connected to a growth mindset as well. Like when you were talking about the emotions, Dana, I was thinking about like a growth mindset, which is also about, things, possibilities, and things being able to happen, and everything moving, and not like being limited, not being limited by your what are the limiting beliefs about your situation, or by the not and I know that sounds like easy for you to say. I mean, I get that there's different levels of real stricture that people go through, including myself, having been through some. So I get it's very annoying when you're struggling to have somebody say, oh, all you have to do is just relax and have faith that things will work themselves out. And so it's not like, I'm not saying that, but I am saying like releasing the fear, as Dana was saying, releasing the expectation that things are just always going to be tight. Like, it's like, and opening up to, there's a solution for this, and there are possibilities that I haven't thought of now, or there are possibilities of things being manifested. Jennifer says, having faith while taking action. And Anna says, with Dana speaking, it reminds me that learning to cook instead of eating out, or planting your own vegetables instead of buying. Yeah, like there's lots of things you can do practically, but it's just, it's a positive, abundance manifesting, oriented way of being in the world. So thank you, everybody. Let's go to the next question. So the next question is pretty obvious. How can you improve your financial vitality, and how have you improved your financial vitality? And I wanted this to be open to the kind of things that Anna was saying, like, or the practical, everything from the practical of, I improved my financial vitality by budgeting, or I improved my financial vitality by improving my credit rating. And actually, I was going to do credit hacks. Like, one of the key ways that I raised my credit score was by getting new credit, because I used less of a percentage, and that bumped up my credit score, in addition to paying it down. Because if you start paying it down, then creditors start saying, oh, she's on a good flow, and then they start offering you. And then if you accept it but you don't use it, that improves your credit score. And that, so that's part of financial vitality. But I think the other way to think about this, and how can you improve your financial vitality? How have you improved your financial vitality? This is kind of linked with the first one, is your mindset about it, and taking fear away, and living in possibility about what could happen. And I think also it to me, it related to, and maybe some of you will resonate with this, but valuing myself enough to not be the one who never gets a raise. Do you know what I'm saying? Is like, to be able to say, you know what, I think I'm worth this much now in this situation, and I'm going to advocate for myself to get this, but the barriers, like I think what Jennifer was saying earlier, like the conditioning, and Dana, what you were talking about in terms of the way you were raised, sometimes the barriers to this are all of those scripts about, money not being important, or money being super important, save everything you've got, or like, I don't want to be greedy, like, I don't want to be, like, sometimes people have one that goes, rich people are jerks, So if you have these limiting beliefs about people who have money, or people who have enough resources, I think one of the things that improved my financial vitality was realizing that there was a certain way that I was more comfortable struggling financially than I was with the idea of not struggling financially. And I know that that's a deep one. Angela says, Heather says, taking on more responsibilities at work, so in the future you can ask for a raise, going back to school and gaining more knowledge for your career path you've chosen. Nice. And Angela says, my ex-husband had a poverty mindset and always felt like money was so tight with us. This was always so frustrating for me because I have an abundance mindset. Ironically, my monthly income is much less now that I'm single, but abundance has been flowing nonstop since I separated myself from him. Opportunities for expansion financially in all areas have really opened up now that I'm not weighed down by a partner with a poverty mindset. And if you are your partner with a poverty mindset, then you're weighing yourself down, is the point. Tammy says, that resonates with me. Hard to ask for a raise, especially in grant funded programs in a nonprofit organization. Fine. But, like the other way I look at that is nonprofits can't exploit their workers either, and I feel like that as the lead at Be Strong Families, it's like people need to feed their families. This isn't all about us being martyrs. This is about, we need to model that it's important to be able to be comfortable. I have a deal with the universe. It's like this. It's like, God, I'll do anything you want me to do, but you have to keep me in a way that I'm not, terrified. So I'm open, I'm in service, but I need a certain standard of living in order not to be focused only on me, So budgeting, Dana says budgeting, getting rid of things like cable and switching to Netflix, having a swap night with friends and trade off items we no longer use, much more fun than a garage sale. Borrowing books from the library instead of buying them. Look for little ways. YouTube is fabulous for this. And Tammy says, yes, I've improved the situation greatly by going back to school and earning a degree. Good for you, Tammy. And Denise says, getting a better understanding of retirement and making changes to ease into a retirement mindset. And Dana says, you can't pour out from an empty cup financially or energetically. Yes. And then so this is the link between financial vitality and emotional vitality. And I love, Dana, that when you were talking about it, you're talking about love and the abundance of love also. But that whole thing of us not wanting to take, or some of us having difficulty taking care of ourselves, because we're supposed to be taking care of others. It's that it goes all ways, right? The self-care, financial self-care. Angela says daily meditation. That's good for everything, Angela, right? And Laura says, my sister and I will swap food that our kids don't eat. Nice. Next question, because I know we're getting to the end of our time here. So this one is also, what do you want to teach your children about financial vitality? So we know that we were influenced by our parents, in terms of our points of view on financial vitality. So what do we want to teach our children? And I was thinking about what Dana was saying is like, I can have anything I want anytime I want. I really wanted to teach my child about budgeting and being financially responsible, because I thought that was a really important thing without having a poverty mindset. Like, I think it's okay to it's like, there's I think an Islamic proverb that says, trust God, but tie your camel. And I think that's kind of where I'm coming from. I want to teach my child that, yes, abundance is there and you will have access to, and also you have to behave responsibly. Learn to save, Julia says, be a frugal spender, buy what you need and not everything you want. Yes, your taste will change, Paul says. Yep. Jennifer says, make purchases based on what you need and what you'd like, and not what society deems is important to have. Denise says, delayed gratification, saving for big things. And Dana says, how to be financially responsible based on their individual belief systems. Lovely. Okay, well, these questions are not fully to be answered in this half hour. So just hope these will percolate in your mind over the next week and you'll take advantage of other webinars that we have. Next slide, Paul. Teach your child to save and budget. We've got from Brandon, how to save for the future from Heather. I just wanted to put this out there. It's a really important book for me. By now it's probably 15 years old. But it's called The Power of Flow, Practical Ways to Transform Your Life with Meaningful Coincidence. And there was research these women did on people who they called flow masters, who were people who were able to manifest incredible lives, that just like the kind of like seemed like all the doors open whenever they walk in a certain direction. And they studied them and drew out these characteristics, these attributes that create this power of flow. So I would encourage you to read the book, but the idea is, this is related to an abundance mindset, which is if you are committed to it, if you are honest, if you have courage and passion, if you're in the moment, if you're open and receptive and positive and you trust, like if those are the attributes that are in your consciousness and part of how you move through the world, then that encourages you to be attentive to synchronicity and to go where the energy is and to be able to manifest the kind of life that you want. I mean, anyway, I would encourage you to pick up the book. It's probably, you have to order it on Amazon, but it was really influential for me, and we had it as like kind of required reading at Be Strong Families for a while. Next slide. So we're at the end of the webinar. Join us on the social media vitality journey. Next slide. I'm just going to give you coming attractions for the week, which tomorrow, Guy's going to be holding space for a conversation about small steps to big dreams. And those are the kind of strategies that you were talking about earlier in terms of, you know, Netflix versus cable. And our Ameriprise consultant, Ken, talks about how he gave up Starbucks and cable to be able to get the down payment for his condo within a year, you know. So there's like those little steps to big dreams, but the little things you can do and figuring out what they are that don't make you feel like you're on a huge diet, but that really open you up to financial vitality. And then Alexandra and Robin are going to be here on Wednesday, and that one's really great also. That's about children and financial vitality. So there's the green light card and other things to teach children about finances. And then Sarita will be here on Thursday. Side gigs and living for the hustle. This is not just about getting a part-time job to pay the bills. This is about how do you generate income generating opportunities that move you into your full self. And then Friday, we have the Financial Vitality Cafe. So thank you very much for being here. And I will see you next Monday. And I trust you'll enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Everybody, thank you so much. Thank you, Kathy. And there's a poll up there. You can finish it up. We're going to be closing it out.
Perfect.
And all these links are at bestrongfamilies.org. And we're going to close it out now that it says that all attendees have filled out the poll. So thank you, everybody.